Hey guys, it's good to talk with you. I wish there was a volume control on this thing. I don't see one. Anyway, I'm gonna probably walk around my neighborhood. I'm outside. I live in a mobile home park, as I probably tell you a lot. Trying to keep the phone away from the actual houses. I might go out to the there's a car here. I might go out to the main road outside the mobile home park just to have some movement for you to see. Because this is just a picture of the road. That's not very interesting. I'm not showing you anybody's house, so just keeping it pointed to the road. It's a walk for me to get that far, but shorter this direction than it was the other direction. So anyway, I was telling you about Vermillion, Ohio, Vermillion Township. I grew up on Barnes Road out in Vermillion Township on 2/3 of an acre, like I said in the last show. My dad's name was Creed Potter. My biological mother died when I was 2. My dad had met her in England. I was born in 1950. And my brother Martin, who passed away about 12 years ago, was born in 1946. He was born in England. My dad was stationed in England during World War II. What I've been told, and I haven't been told much, but I was told he was an ambulance driver and his job was to go around and pick up parts of bodies and bodies from the German bombing. So whether that's really true or not, I have no idea. So yeah, and so my mother's name was June. June Gwyneth Robinson was her maiden name. And I think she was possibly from the Manchester, England area. I don't know much for sure. One of my first cousins did dig up some things, which is nice. And her mother, my Aunt Ada, had dug up some things about my mother, because my mother died, like I say, when I was 2, so that would have been 1952. And then what seems like shortly thereafter, my dad remarried to a lady from Nebraska named Mary, and she became our mother. And during my childhood and up to my mid-teen years, I simply thought that Mary was my real biological mother. Although I heard contradictory comments from my schoolmates, which was very confusing. This is probably more than you ever wanted to know about me. You're probably saying, oh my God, get back to showing us shows of other people. Anyway, what else can I tell you? I liked school. My brother, who was obviously 4 years older than me, tried to protect me in school. He was very athletic, and I was the antithesis of athletic, so people would pick on me, of course. I have 2 sisters that are still alive and live in the United States. Yeah, I don't remember having hardly any friends in high school or even in other junior high or anything. Although a few years ago, What's it been? Maybe 10 years, maybe 15. One of the members of my high school class organized a 50-year reunion. That would have been about 1950 or so. And she got a hold of me, she got in touch with me. She was getting in touch with everybody in our class. We had about 200 people in our class. And some of those people think that I was their friend, which I'm surprised to hear, because my experience was I didn't have any friends. Then I was pretty messed up as a teenager. As soon as I could figure out a way to get out of the house, get away from my parents' control, I started into therapy at age 19, and I've been in therapy ever since. And as many of you know, I've been a mentally ill person. I'm in the neighborhood, so I'm lowering my voice. I was diagnosed as a mentally ill person in 1990. Went on disability from Stanford. I worked at Stanford as a blue-collar worker running a copy machine, which, some people think of that as printing, and some people don't think of that as printing, but anyway, worked at Stanford 13 years. Yeah, I don't know what else to tell you. But then I keep saying that, don't I? And then I tell you more stuff, so who knows? Anyway, after high school, I went to college for 2 years. First year at a satellite college of Bowling Green State called Firelands, and the second year at the main Bowling Green State University campus in Bowling Green, Ohio. And I didn't really hit a major for those first 2 years. Then I dropped out, and I went hitchhiking around the country, hitchhiking around the United States. Wound up in Phoenix, and I lived in Phoenix for, a year and a half, 2 years, from about 71, late 71 to 73, I think. I lived like at 16th and Thomas for a while. I lived in the back of a Lutheran church in Tempe for a while, etc. I joined some volunteer groups in Phoenix. Met some good people. Yeah, not much else I can say about that. Well, there is, but, one thing at a time. I'm walking out to the main road, which is called Deep Creek Road. This way when I talk to you, you can actually see things moving rather than just see the gray street. Boy. Let's see what we got here. We got a few cars. Real cars, can you imagine? It is getting a little dark. Trying to figure out if I can give it more light, I don't know. We're at 9 minutes and something here. Yeah, not much else to say. Let's see, so I lived in Phoenix. I had a lady friend there, met some people. I met a man who played backup drums for Jethro Tull, which was kind of cool. And I met some other people who later became executive directors of various nonprofits, known and unknown. What else? Then I met another lady who wanted to live somewhere else. So her name was Kathy. So she had a car. I had a car too, but I lost my car in Phoenix under some nefarious circumstances. So she had a car, a yellow Volkswagen Bug. I left Phoenix. She and I traveled across the United States to Philadelphia and visited some people there. And then we were there 2 or 3 weeks. And we also visited her parents in the Midwest along the way. And then we came out to Palo Alto, California. And we rented a studio apartment in East Palo Alto. That was back when East Palo Alto still had a shopping center called Nairobi Village. For those of you that remember that many decades ago. So that was kind of fun. And then she, within a very short period of time, a few months, she decided to move to Berkeley, and I decided to stay in East Palo Alto. So I moved on to a land trust on Oakdale in East Palo Alto. At some point, at least. I think that was the next place I lived. And then I moved from there. A few years later, I moved to Alma Street near Churchill in Palo Alto. Rented a room in a house. And I got to Phoenix probably to California, Northern California, about 73. About 75 or 76, I met a lady named Anna. My friend Peter and I had been publishing a poetry magazine for a while, and Anna's friend Laura was in the magazine. We published one of her pieces. And anyway, we had usually after we published an issue of the poetry magazine, we'd have a party, like a publishing party. Anna and her friend came to the party, and Anna seemed very enamored with me, which was rare. The ladies didn't usually, I didn't have that many lady friends in my lifetime, but anyway, so at that time for work, I was working in the copy business downtown Palo Alto at the corner of University and Cowper, which I remember now, this is like 1975 or 76, so it's a long time ago. I worked in a copy center that I can almost remember the name. I think it was a University Copy run by a guy named Al Asani, who apparently his father had worked for the Shah of Iran. He was Iranian, so I'm letting a truck go by, a Prime Video truck. So what else can I tell you? Let me tell more about that story. So working at the copy center was fun. I had worked at another copy center previous to this, starting as early as 73. When I first came to California, I worked at an A&W root beer place, which none of you remember what that is, but it was a drive-in kind of restaurant where you could pull up with your car and people would bring the food out to your car. And I think I got fired from that job, but I'm not sure. Anyway, I found another job in the town next door called Menlo Park at a place called Campus Copy. And I was working for a man named Archie Goff, who was the owner. And I was trained by a man named Roger, who I later came to call Uncle Roger. And he was a delightful, eccentric, quirky guy that taught me some good stuff about the copy business. And I worked there for a while, and then that store, it turned out Mr. Goff was the father-in-law of Al Asani over at University Copy. So the family decided to shut down Campus Copy in Menlo Park and move everybody over to University Copy, which they did. And so I went over there to work and worked there many years. And as I remember, I got fired from that job because I kept coming in late. I lived in East Palo Alto, which was quite a long bicycle ride from where I lived into Palo Alto, in my opinion anyway. So when I got fired from there, I was pretty freaked out. But I just I didn't know what to do. So I didn't do much of anything. I didn't really look around for a job much. I was riding my bicycle around town one day, and I rode it onto the Stanford campus, and I decided to put in an application at Stanford. Very willy-nilly. There was no planning or anything. And turned out a few months later, I got a job at Stanford running a copier. And this was the brand new, that time was brand new, 9,000 series copiers that Xerox had made. They were a big deal. They ran like 1.5 copies per second. They were very long and just collated everything automatically and all that. So, yeah, that was very fun. I was at Stanford a total of 13 years. The department I started in was part of Lane Library, and then within a year or so, I was hired away by what I guess was the main printing department of Stanford at that time. They don't have much of a printing department now, but at that time they had 3 levels of printing. They printed real books, they had a duplicator print shop, and they had the copy centers. So anyway, so I went to work at the main copy center, which was at that time, this would have been, probably 77. It was in the basement of the Graduate School of Business, and that building since then has been torn down because it was damaged in the earthquake of 1989. But yeah, so worked there many years. I was ostensibly hired to train the other people how to run a 9000 Xerox, but the other employees of the copy center were very resentful of me coming in. So it was a rough ride all those 13 years. There's more to my experience at Stanford that I want to tell you, but I'm coming up on my house, so I'll probably just stop the story for now. And this is at 19 minutes or so, so we got plenty on here. I'll tell you more in the future. Yeah. All right. I love you guys. Take care, please.